who is going to be that person that tells you in 2 years from now, we still have this active vendor, but now we've incorporated AI, for example, right? Talking about that, we've incorporated other things. How can we make sure that, what we're doing takes that into account, make sure that we continue to be secure with the new addition in the scope.
Welcome to the Risk Never Sleeps podcast, in which we learn about the people that are on the front lines, delivering and protecting patient care. I'm Ed Gaudet, the host of our program, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Ainhoa Iglesias-Diaz, Director of Information Security and Privacy at the UChicago Medicine organization. Did I get that right? How is that?
Yeah, so usually what I tell people to remember how to say the name is like Noah, like the name Noah, and then Ainhoa.
Ainhoa.
Yeah, or I know a girl. That's usually the easiest way to remember.
Excellent. So let's start off with sharing, a little bit about your current role and organization with listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm currently at the University of Chicago Medicine. So we are a nonprofit academic medical health system, which basically we have several hospitals, we have outpatient clinics, specialty care facilities, physician practices all across Chicago, its suburbs, and now recently expanding to Northwest Indiana. So I had the opportunity to step into the GRC director role as recently as last November. So I'm leading the team in the efforts of, supporting internal and external audits, policies, procedures, standards, exceptions to those standards, right? Because not always we get everything perfect. So there's going to be always exceptions. We also focus heavily on managing third-party risk, security awareness training, and anything, regulatory compliance from a privacy perspective.
Yeah, and I did a check on your background to learn a little more about where you've been on so far in your journey, and I really love your background as it's prepared you for this role. You've been an analyst. You've also, I believe, you spent some time in the operations center, the security the SOC as well.
That's correct. That's how I got started. So when I was getting my master's degree in information technology and management. Basically, at the end of the first year, I had the great opportunity to intern for UChicago Medicine. Mm-hmm. So I was on the security operations side, so like more technical, hands-on skills. And then at the end, I was expressing and talking to my managers at the time, hey, I would love to have the opportunity to continue working here. It's a great place, continue learning. But unfortunately, there was not really like a position open. So, but, we had recently acquired Ingalls Memorial, which is a smaller community health hospital that was in the south side of Chicago. And they had a spot open. So I had the opportunity to transition over to Ingalls in their information security office. And then, I continue working for the organization. I went from as well, I was technical part as well. I remember one of the first projects they gave me was like, hey, you need to stand up the vulnerability management program. We don't have, something really mature. So this is your little project to start. So that was very fun. And then I went into more third-party risk as well, more on the GRC compliance side. And then with, the whole merger and acquisition, right, and the shared services, both information security offices at UChicago and Ingalls kind of combined into one. And that's when I transitioned to the GRC team at the University of Chicago. And honestly, I think it was around COVID, in 2020, early COVID, in early 2020, I think it was. And then I've been there, doing different things, exposed to different things, learning from great leaders. And, you've had the good fortune to work for some really great leaders and talented individuals. And I believe Eric Decker was there when you were there. That's correct. Yeah. Eric Decker was the CISO when I was an intern already. And he is the one who told me, hey, there may be an opportunity for this role at Ingalls Memorial. And he really helped from the beginning, made the connection, gave me the opportunity to interview with them. And then, I was able to work under him with shared services as well and being part of his bigger information security team at UChicago. So that was great.
Yeah, and now working with Karen, who I've known forever, and she's phenomenal as well. So
I
you're
know.
2 for 2.
I know, right? Like, I'm very fortunate. Like honestly, she's the reason I'm back. Because as you can see, last year, I left the organization for a short period of time, went to explore, other areas, different industry. And, I had this opportunity, and I couldn't say no to working under her again.
What was that like, leaving healthcare and then coming back? Any takeaways from that experience? I know it was brief, but
yeah. It was honestly, I think for me, it was a really good learning experience to see, how other industries are doing security and privacy different from healthcare. It was brief, so I didn't have as much time to get into many details. But I was leading the third-party risk management program there, kind of like taking it also like a step farther and making it more mature. So it was a really good experience to see how others do what we do in healthcare. I couldn't say no to coming back to this great organization that I consider home. So
that's terrific. And it's interesting to see the role of information security and GRC now converge.
That's right.
And so how is your background, how is your experience kind of set you up for success now in this new role?
So I think it gave me this broad background, right, to be exposed to different things. So that now from a GRC perspective, right, we kind of like are telling, to make it simple, right, we go and tell people what they cannot do, right? So having that background from, the technical aspect, it gives me a better understanding of like, okay, we need to do this, but this is how we can accomplish, not just try to impose, but kind of like understand why things are important and try to relate that to our users.
And you're spending more time with the business, I assume.
That's correct. That's correct. So now I'm like away from like more technical. So now we can focus more on like, okay, the bigger mission, right? And the vision, how can we make it happen? How can we help the business conduct, their initiatives in the proper and secure way?
And are you spending time with clinicians as well as G&A, general administrative functions?
I am not personally spending as much with clinicians. We do from a third-party risk management, especially when they want to bring new vendors to help them with their functions. So that's where we step in and try to understand, what it is that they're trying to do. At the same time, we work with supply chain. So it's a collaborative effort to say, okay, you're trying to do this, but maybe we have another vendor that you can leverage so we don't have to go through this process. So that's to the extent right now that we are participating with the different functions.
And where are you in your AI journey? Are you beginning to leverage governance? Have you put together a governance team?
So I'm like, I on that one, I'm not going to go too deep into because it's the earliest stages. But yes, we do have an AI governance committee, which is led by Karen Habercoss, our Chief Information Security and Privacy Officer. So, it's the earliest stages, but I know like they're setting the ground level for everyone to follow.
Exciting times.
It is very exciting. I mean, AI is everything these days, right? Like we cannot prevent it. So we need to get on board and see how we can, use it, embrace it, but do it the right way.
Absolutely. So obviously AI is probably a top priority. What are some of your other strategic initiatives over the next 12 months?
Absolutely. So if I'm thinking about, GRC, some of the things we do, I could name like the two top that I have right now would be third-party risk management, one, and the other one would be security awareness training. And, if I just look at it more like external threat versus insider threat, right? So third parties, it's really important to have like an active inventory of vendors that are providing services to us that access our data, our systems, right? So that we can identify, we can assess, we can mitigate whatever risks they pose to us, not only from an onboarding perspective, which is what we would want to work with supply chain, right? Like make sure that we are checking all the boxes in the list, but also from a monitoring perspective, right? If we have a vendor providing services for 5 years, how do we make sure that they're meeting the security requirements, and also the privacy requirements throughout the duration of the services, right? And then from a security awareness program, that would be the insider threat, right? We oftentimes focus so much on the external threat because we think that's the higher risk. But at the end of the day, many of the incidents, cybersecurity incidents, start with, a compromised user on the inside, right? Mm-hmm. So I think teaching our users to, identify what could be suspicious, help them, take those steps and not be afraid to report it. I think that's something very, very important, which is why we're going to be focusing on that. Not just like the bad behaviors, like, you clicked on this email or you did this, but also, promoting the culture that, hey, come to us. We're here to help you. If you see something suspicious, report it. Don't be afraid. We're here to help you. So those are like the top initiatives that I want to focus on in the next year, I would say.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I love your point about taking much more of a life cycle approach to third-party risk based on the relationship over time and the changes that could happen, because you could have changes to the application, but you could also have scoping changes.
Exactly. So how do you identify those, right? Because when the initial, like the supply chains or the business comes to you, say, hey, I want to do this service. Can we, we do the risk assessment, contracting, everything, right? But we're just in a narrow scope. What if that changes over time? Who is going to be that person that tells you in 2 years from now, we still have this active vendor, but now we've incorporated AI, for example, right? Talking about that. We've incorporated other things. How can we make sure that, what we're doing takes that into account, make sure that we continue to be secure with the new addition in the scope.
Yeah, and maybe based on scope, they were low or medium risk initially, but based on usage, now they've risen to a critical function.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. I think that's where a lot of people are taking their third-party programs over the next couple of years. If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Okay, so I don't have to go back in time too much longer because, it hasn't been that long that I've been there. But, going back, I would say just don't be afraid. Like when you think you cannot do something, 100% you can. Maybe harder than what you thought, but I think we all can just push ourselves, get out of the comfort zone, and then just do it. And maybe you're not successful at the beginning, right? But we will learn from that. You fall, you get right back up, and then you keep trying until you get it. So I would say just don't be afraid. Fast fail. I love that. Yep.
As you think about your day job, and then when you're not working, and maybe you have some hobbies or things that you love to do, what are you most passionate about? If you weren't doing this job, what would you be doing?
So if I weren't doing this, of course, spending time with the family, that's something I'm sure we all would love to do that. My family lives far from here. They're all in Spain. So whenever I have the chance, taking that opportunity to spend time with them is my top priority. That's for sure. But I'm an athlete myself. I've been my entire career. I started playing tennis when I was very little back in Spain. And then is what brought me to the United States. I was able to get a scholarship to play Division I college tennis and then get my degree at the same time. So probably I will be playing tennis and then probably doing triathlons with my husband. That's our little hobby that we both share. So those would be the three things.
Wow. And when did you start playing tennis? How old were you?
I think I was 3 years old. Wow. I actually have pictures with my great-grandmother when I was like 1 year old, and I was just like chewing a racket, basically.
Yeah.
My parents played tennis. My sister played tennis, so I kind of like grew up. He was like, I had to. And then I loved it. I fell in love with it, and I've played my entire life, and I still play to this day. So.
And do you watch too? Are you watching the Open?
I love it. Yeah, I watch. I actually this year, my husband and I made a trip to Australia. Oh. And then we went to the Australian Tennis Open. So
nice. Yeah. So who are some of your favorites? Who still inspires you?
They're retired.
Oh, okay.
But obviously, the easy one is like Rafa Nadal from Spain.
Okay.
Like,
I wasn't sure if you were a fan or not.
oh yeah, I think he was a great competitor, great value on and
phenomenal.
off the court.
This is the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with Roger Federer. I'd say those two are
Roger, yeah.
fantastic on and off the court. Like, so the kids watching them, they can get inspired and try to follow their steps.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And have you taken anything? I mean, tennis is a really interesting sport. Have you applied any of your learnings from tennis to cybersecurity or GRC?
I think so. Because in tennis, you lose more than you win, right? So it teaches you that lesson that no matter how good you are, there's always going to be someone better. And you're going to fail more times than you succeed. So that taught me from the beginning, like, it's okay, to not be successful at the beginning. It teaches you that you just have to keep trying. You have to keep being consistent, repeating things over time until you get them right. So for sure, it's something I learned from when I was little, and then I still use that advice. It taught me so much. And then playing in college, well, you think tennis is an individual sport? In tennis, it's really a team sport, right? You may win or you may lose, but you do it as a team. So I love that saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yes.
If you want to make it far, right, go with the team.
That's right. That's
so I think I apply that to the day-to-day, right? Like, you can be really great contributor to the team, but at the end of the day, if you don't work together with the team, you're not going to make it that far. So it's super important to collaborate, not just within our internal teams, but like with the bigger audience, and make sure that we all build those relationships.
I see a Forbes article in your future comparing your tennis learnings to how you apply those to cybersecurity. I love a lot of those aspects.
Yeah. I would have a lot to say, probably.
Well, it's a very mathematical game too, and which obviously there's a lot to do with math and cyber.
Yeah, and mental. How to be resilient.
Resilience is yes, exactly. That is so critical because, as you said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Exactly.
And we will fail. And so it's important that we know how to recover.
Exactly.
So we can continue to play. Love that.
That one thing for sure, we know we're going to fail. But how you recover and get up from that, it's really the important part.
Exactly. I have to ask you this question. This is the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. What is the riskiest thing you've ever done?
I think may sound odd, but for me, the riskiest thing was like deciding to move overseas, being born and raised in Spain, and decided to leave the family, the country you grew up in, and come to a completely new country. I had never been here before. So I would say when you're 18, that's a risky decision because you don't know at 18, right? It's very hard to know. We barely know how people one foot in front of the other, let alone make a big decision. So I think definitely that would be the riskiest thing. Now looking back in time, it was the right decision. It's been great, a fantastic journey. But at that time, just for me and the family, we were not sure if that was the right thing to do.
And where in Spain are you from? Whereabouts?
I'm from Madrid.
Madrid. Oh, I've been to Madrid.
Yeah.
I love Madrid. Yeah.
Usually people tell me I've been to Barcelona.
I've been to Barcelona too.
Okay.
But no, my first trip to Spain actually was Madrid.
Nice. How do you like it?
I did. I liked it. I love Spain. I love Europe.
Okay.
It's so different than the U.S. It's there's so much. I don't know. I love Paris. I love Spain. I wish I could walk the the pilgrimage there.
I've done it with my dad.
You have? Oh.
I have.
Which route? The shorter one or the longer one?
Wait, so you can make it as long or as short as you want, right?
Yes,
You can start from different areas. My dad and I started in a city called León. A little south, and then we did a mountain biking. And
Wow.
then we took us like 5 days. We did over like 800 kilometers, I believe it was, something like that.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, 2013, I believe it was.
What was your favorite? Do you remember any of the areas you stopped? Some of the
If you ask me for names, I don't remember. My dad remembers absolutely every single day, everything. And
you did. Oh, that's cool.
all I can say was a fantastic experience because it was my dad and I biking. And then we had my mom and my grandma following us with the car from so that we could, like if we needed help with the bikes or something, they were kind of
Oh, yeah. That's the way to do it, actually.
I know. Because usually that route, you carry your backpack, right? And it's heavy. We were like light on weight. So, because we had help.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic experience. If you ever had the chance, I think, whether you do walking, biking, by horse, you can do it as well.
Oh, no.
So it's
I like the car. I could do the car. Maybe I could follow somebody, eh?
Yeah, that's when my grandma came back. They was saying, I'm not doing this again.
And she was in the car.
I know. Probably because of that. It was too much waiting around for us.
Oh, yeah.
I know. It was a good experience. We really liked it.
All right. A couple more questions. Are you a music fan or a movie fan or both?
Both, I guess.
Okay. All right.
A little bit of everything.
All right. You're on a desert island and you could take 5 records with you. What would they be?
Oh, so there's going to be a mix. I don't know if I have 5, but I can tell you my 3 favorites. But they're in Spanish, though. But I can tell you what they're about.
Okay.
One is called Todo Cambia, which is basically everything changes. And it goes kind of like from the perspective someone who has left their country. And when they look back, kind of like their whole journey and how, depending on, like you're in your 20s, in your 30s, how you see things and how the human evolves through all those changes and the things that happen to you. So that's one of my favorites that I always try to listen to when I have a bad day. I always put it on kind of like to help me hey, this is a long journey. There's good on those bad days.
It sounds like it could be a movie too.
Yeah, I'm sure they could make a movie. So that's one. The other one is I Will Survive.
Oh, Gloria Gaynor.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I think we can survive everything, even if we can't. So those are the main 2, I would say.
Okay. All right. Good. How about movies?
So movies, I don't know if you know, you probably know, is The Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall with Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That's one of my favorites.
That's a great movie.
I love it. And every time I see it, I continue crying, every single time.
Pretty powerful movie. Yeah.
It is very powerful, the values of the family and how they endure everything that happens. I think it is a fantastic movie.
Do you watch Yellowstone or the 1823?
I have not yet.
Oh, okay.
It's on my list.
Yeah, good. Excellent. And then last question. What advice would you have for someone graduating that wants to get into healthcare and or cybersecurity or both?
So what I'd say, be open-minded. And what I mean by that, right, sometimes we think that we want one path or we really know what we want to do in life. But oftentimes we're surprised that, hey, there's this other door here that if you open it, could have many more opportunities than just trying to go a narrow path. Speaking for myself, I did electrical engineering and look where I am right now, right? So basically where you start has nothing to do with your path can lead you to. So being open-minded, I think, is very important. To not miss out those opportunities. That is
great advice. I don't think, I think that should be at the, when they're handing out the diploma, they should give them also that advice.
Yeah, for me, I think it would have been very helpful. Me too. Luckily, I had my parents always remind me, hey, do not close any doors. Never know what could happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's the advice I would give to anyone graduating.
Excellent. That's a great way to end. Ainhoa, thank you so much for your time. Pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. And this is Ed Gaudet from the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. And if you're on the front lines protecting patient safety and care delivery, remember to stay vigilant because risk never sleeps.